Hey everyone, this is Gone Turbo. In this video, I wanted to do a tutorial on taking really great screenshots. This really applies to any type of video game, or any video game in any type of gaming system, whether it's a console or PC, that allows you to take screenshots, which I think are most of them these days. One of the things that I enjoy doing on Xbox, because that's what I'm playing on, is taking screenshots every once in a while and posting them to some of the Xbox clubs that are out there. So I want to give a little shout out to a couple of clubs, Snap Professionalist, also Skyrim and Fallout Modders in the Hood, and also Aperture Screenshot Club and Arch Domus Screenshot Club, and of course the Elder Scrolls Community Club. And so all you guys that are part of those clubs or are admins in those clubs, thank you. I like to take really great screenshots and post pictures to those clubs and see what I get for likes. So in this video, I wanted to kind of give a little tutorial on some strategies and some tips for creating really great screenshots. I'm using Skyrim as my video game here to demonstrate some of these things. And if you've seen some other videos, you know that Skyrim is pretty much the only game I play and make videos on at this point. So what I want to do is kind of go through a few things and then talk at the end how it all kind of comes together in finding and making really great screenshots. So first and foremost, for this particular game, for Skyrim, I do have a number of mods. We can mod this game on Xbox One and PC as well, and PlayStation 4. So there are a number of mods that I have downloaded that do create what I find to be a really great looking game visually, which helps with my screenshots. I'm not going to go into a lot of those because I have so many videos on mods and how to make your display look a certain way, blah, blah, blah. This is a little bit more techniques when it comes to screenshots. So first and foremost, one of the things that you got to do is, if you have a heads-up display, which in this case for Skyrim, it's this little cursor in the middle. At the top, you'll see kind of a map, compass bar. You want to get rid of that. So for Skyrim in particular, you go to Settings and Display and reduce the heads-up display opacity to 0. So all you have is your game and nothing else. Health bars, maps, any of that kind of stuff you can just take right away. Taking screenshots is like photography. You're going to need to think about a number of things in looking for a really great screenshot. Obviously, what is your subject? Is it a landscape type of shot? Is it an object? Is it a character or a person? So that's the first thing you're obviously going to think about, is what the hell are you taking a picture of? Secondly, within the screen itself, what is the space that you're filling? So in a more artistic sense, negative space is the empty space. And in looking for a really great screenshot, what is filling your screen and what is empty? Now obviously clouds and sky might be an object, which brings me to another point, and that is object balance. So what is filling your screen at what what side, top or bottom, left or right, to give good balance to your picture. Another thing that is important is in more landscape shots and even more close-up shots, foreground, midground, and background. So what's in the far distance, and what does that look like? What's in the middle ground distance, and then what's really up close? Are you going to be up close to a tree, rocks, objects, things like that? And just as important, in a lot of video games these days that are, kind of these open-ended worlds, time of day. So there are day and night cycles in most of these open world games, weather and lighting, and in Skyrim in particular, a lot of mods that affect lighting and weather, and I think I like to think that I've tweaked my game to bring out the best graphics and lighting using some of these weather mods that are also lighting mods. So time of day, just like almost a real photographer would think about, and lighting is just as important in a video game. It's actually eerily similar to real life, the way light in the morning and in the evening will render and bring out detail in objects, which is something else that through this video I want to talk about. I find that in Skyrim, a cloudy day can kind of dampen the atmosphere to not necessarily bring out a really good looking shot, but other effects like fog and the sky, those kinds of things can create good effects. So it's not just taking a picture of something you think's cool, it's all of these other things as well that can really make a great screenshot. So with a lot of those things being said, I'm going to go ahead and kind of walk around here and see what we might be able to find for some different examples. So the time of day is almost 9 a.m. in the world here of Skyrim, and as I just kind of approach an area here, so we'll just use this as an example. So here we have a landscape. We have a pretty full background of the mountains and the sky, and a midground of pines, and in the foreground, really just kind of not much happening, just kind of a bare space, and a crab at the bottom walking around. So, a couple of things here, kind of more artistically, is this something that looks visually appealing? I don't know. That's part of it, is what's in the eye of the beholder. But a couple things to think about. So if I were to take a picture of this right now and say this is a great screenshot, the lighting isn't bad, the objects are kind of neat, more forested and mountains in the background. But you also have to think about, again, that kind of balance and negative space. So if I were to look up a little bit further, the picture is a little bit more filled with sky than other objects. If I were to go further down, then I'm getting more of this landscape that doesn't have much going on. So to kind of bring this to balance, one thing to kind of think about is the horizon line really being something that is right horizontally an equal distance from top to bottom across the screen. So in this case, even though the horizon line might technically be more the tops of the mountains, pretty much like right here, if we were to think about the balance between the center of the screen looking up and the center of the screen looking down, there's a little bit more balance to it right there. I personally wouldn't take this as a screenshot because it's, in my opinion, the lighting could be better, and the objects itself isn't quite appealing to my artistic look, or what I'm kind of trying to find. So looking further around, so here we have some cool things here to possibly take pictures of. We have some water. We have perhaps some more character objects, but some other kinds of things than just landscapes. We have some objects that were probably man-made at one point. Looks like we have some ruins over there. So, all right, well, perhaps there's something here to be said for a cool shot. So here we have a waterfall as an object. We have some flowers, we have some butterflies. We have trees, we have rocks, we have sky, nice blue sky. We do have that over there, which I would avoid taking in a shot right here. Another thing that you can do is in Skyrim is you can crouch, and sometimes crouching will kind of bring everything and be balanced up and down a little bit. So sometimes I do that to get a little bit more of the ground objects to come up a little bit. So there is a cheat that I use. It's under restoration. It's Sheogorath's cheat mod, and this does allow you to toggle your let's see here. You want to player cheats, toggle collision. So when I click on that, I can actually go anywhere in the world. It toggles the collision. That makes sense. And it actually allows you to go into objects because you're toggling the collision. So here we are, kind of behind the scenes of the graphics. So with this mod, you might be able to get a little bit into the ground more. You can see my character there. Obviously, it's not going to happen in the game, but with this cheat, you can get to spots and areas where you wouldn't usually get with your normal character. So that might make sense. So in some cases, you can get to the ground level a little bit more, or you can get high as Georgia Pine. A little more aerial shots. All right. So we're going to come back down here. I'm going to untoggle this. And in this case, I'm just going to use this scene as another example. So here we have a lot of good stuff happening here. It's kind of a, artistically peaceful looking scene. We have the waterfall, we have flowers, we have butterflies. I'm not going to put that object in the shot because it's a dead thing on a whatever. So another thing I want to talk about is balance. So if I were to kind of go like this, what we have is a lot of stuff to the right of the screen. We have the blue flowers, we have the thistle, we have the waterfall, we have kind of this stone thing happening. And to the left, it's a little bit less busy. Now we have objects. We have that ruin over there, we have the water, we do have some pines that kind of fill the left side of the screen and kind of frames it in a little bit. But that's something to think about. You don't want to have too much of something on one side. So to kind of give another example of this, let's see. I don't know. So, okay, if I were to do something like this, just for example. So here, if I were to kind of square this up here we have trees filling up almost the entire right side of the shot, and a mountain and a sky filling up the other side of the shot. This isn't really balanced because you have a lot on one side and not so much on the other. I like to kind of frame my shot sometimes, so I might do something like this where I have some pines framing the left and some pines framing the right, and if I had a really cool object in the middle, then that might come out really well. So something like this angle might be a little bit more balanced of a shot than what I was just showing. And again, thinking about horizon line, I'm not going to do this per se, unless I had something in the foreground here. And I'm not going to go way up here like this if I'm thinking about a landscape shot. So something like this might just be a little bit more balanced. All right, so coming back down to our waterfall area, I might balance this out by bringing the waterfall a little bit more to the center. Maybe a little bit of sky, maybe something like that might be a really good, really nice screenshot. And if it were a different time of day, right now, because we've been walking around here, it's 11:20 in the morning. Sometimes in the evening or in the morning in this particular game, the sunset, the yellows start to kind of come out, and it can make a really cool looking shot. All right. Another thing that I want to talk about is how graphics are rendered. So, some games are going to have better graphics than others, but obviously if you get really close to an object, it's going to start to perhaps look a little bit less rendered. So like here we have grass that is not quite, doesn't have quite the high texture resolution as other things. So you're not going to want to take a screenshot of something that looks less graphically pleasing. Sometimes the further away you get, the better it's going to look. If you get close to this tree, everything's going to start to, just the nature of the resolution of graphics here as well. So, that's not going to be anything pretty to look at. But from a distance, if you start to back it up, it's going to look a little bit better. So those kinds of things are important to know, especially if you're, taking some foreground or taking some object shots. The closer you might get to something, you got to really just look visually if it's going to start to wash out. So something like this right here. Kind of look at the balance. I do have a big rock object to the left. There's a butterfly flying around, so that adds a little bit to that space. Yet to the right, we have the waterfall, the rocks. We have less sky and more pines filling the space there. So it's just a little bit more balanced in a different kind of way. So that would be a really neat shot as well. All right. Other unique ways to take pictures here. I talked about that toggle feature for this particular game. We talked about balancing objects, foreground, midground, background. One other mod that I do use that I'll talk about is display enhancements. This is for Skyrim, but display enhancements can offer a lot of different effects. So I have a video on this mod. I have a few videos on this mod, but there are different things that you can do with colors. You can do with blurring effects. So for example, I'm going to go to preset 28, and the background is going to blur. There, boom. The preset that I typically use is preset 5 with some saturation. I also use some blue tint, and in Vivid Weathers use a normal level of saturation. So that mod can really also increase how your game looks. So already you can see that kind of depth of field is already kind of in constant effect, and I think it's a really cool effect. So another another feature in this mod is field of view, and this could also be something else that can really make your screenshots unique. So field of view will zoom in or out your visual screen. So I'm gonna regular for Skyrim, regular view is 90. I'm gonna go up to let's do 50 here. I click on 50. I click on my B button, and I zoom into, I zoom. And it can just offer a different look to what what you might be capturing in the field of view. Zooming in a little bit, I think it's going to add a totally different dynamic, still at the resolution of that distance that you were looking at that different field of view. So you could really get some really great screenshots that maybe nobody else is taking for Skyrim in particular with that little feature of this mod. Now I know I'm in a forested area, and basically at this point we're all getting sick of looking at these trees, but I just thought it'd be a good area to play around with. If you crank field of view up past 90, let's say 130, you're going to get this drawn back kind of look. To me, I don't know, I guess if you get creative, you might be able to find some good screenshots with this kind of thing, but so that's display enhancements, and I'm going to go back to regular field of view. At 90 is the default view. Right? That didn't work. There we go. All right. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. Check out my videos. Hopefully you'll subscribe and like, and maybe we'll see some of your screenshots up there on Xbox clubs or anything else in the world out there. Thanks a lot.